Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trucked Before. This time it's a special episode. Oh joy! Ren and Stimpy Space Madness. That's right, Space Madness, our special episode. Ren and Stimpy Space Madness. You know what? If you want to get crazy, don't get mad, get crazy. Hey, the mothership. It's All Been Done Radio Hour this weekend. Red Herring Theater right here in Columbus. They're doing the Buddy Kravitz musical? No, the Daniel Kravitz musical. This Saturday, February 26th, 2 days from now. Tickets probably still available, but why wait? Get on it now. Just like we're going to get on it now. Ren and Stimpy Space Madness on It's All Been Trucked Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before. Your regular hosts are here for a bonus episode between seasons 4 and 5.
This is Stephen J. Cat.
Oh, I wasn't ready for that.
Oh,
and Keith Hoek, I suppose. Hoek.
And Jimmy-Jerome, no joke last name. we're here to talk Ren and Stimpy. The Ren and Stimpy show, I should say. That's what it's called. It's not called Ren and Stimpy. It's called the Ren and Stimpy show.
Yeah.
Season 1, episode 3, the first half of that episode, Space Madness. On their journey through space, Ren and Stimpy find the true danger of space madness, a cabin crazy condition that Ren succumbs to. This aired in August 1991, which is significant because that is basically right in line with where we are in between seasons 4 and 5, because the season 5 premiered in early September 91 or late August, but after this. So this bonus episode is coming to you in the timeline, in the chronology, exactly when it would have aired.
Which, of course, I love things like that.
Yeah, that just happened to work out. It was not a super premeditated thing. We kind of threw in Stimpy in the last minute. The episode was directed and story by, as well as written by, John Kricfalusi, the creator of the show.
Kricfalusi.
Okay, often credited as John Kay. Story is also by Jim Gomez and written also by Bob Camp, Vincent Waller, and Will McRobb. A lot of people. Because there's so many people, I'm not going to break down all of their credits.
You should probably at least mention Billy West, though.
It does star John Kay as Ren and Billy West, who plays Fry in Futurama, as Stimpy, are the two lead characters. First impressions of Space Madness.
It's tough for me because, I mean, I could remember I was able to tell you approximately when it came out because I was starting college around then. This was just on a lot of the communal TVs. People are just like losing their minds about this and Batman the Animated Series around then. So I do have some fond memories of that. And I've recited this ad infinitum to the point where there were certain sound clips that were just like waiting queued up when they were coming up. It's like, I can see in retrospect some things that probably didn't age as well. And some things you kind of had to catch. I'll get more into that later, but just the idea of certain shows you have to see at a certain time in your life or they're not going to stick.
Yeah, I was just out of college. I had my first job around this time, and I don't even know how I ended up watching it, but me and a guy at work, we had both just started this job at this place. This is one of the things we bonded over, and he would refer to me as Simpson J. Cat. Hence the reference at the top. I was like you, Keith. There were certain things, ice cream sandwich, the shiny red button. And
you
some
coveted
of that stuff.
my ice cream bar.
Some of the things I forgot were like the things like and this was something I liked a lot. And then, as the series went on, I don't know if it got weirder or less weird. It's hard to remember, but
it was a mixture for both, I can tell you.
Yeah. But these early episodes were just so different from anything else that was going on to me at the time anyway. But like the moments where they kind of do a close up and you see more hair and the pores in their faces and everything and all that stuff. I don't think I liked them then as much as I like them now. I didn't appreciate it as much as I like them now. I think back then I was like, well, that's just weird. And now I'm like, okay, now I get it. But all the other stuff, and I still laughed watching it this time, especially the whole shiny red button thing. Can you resist it? I know I can. I always loved Simpson J. Cat.
So I was 8 when this came out.
Wow.
We must have had cable because we must have just gotten cable because I remember when Nickelodeon was about to premiere the Nicktoons, and it was this and Doug and Rugrats, and it was like a block. And I remember being excited about it. I know pretty early in my life, my dad decided I was too old to watch cartoons, but I remember getting to watch the Nicktoons when they premiered. So it must have been when I was like 8.5 or 9 when he cut me off. And if it was a cartoon like The Simpsons where kids were rude to their parents, that was definitely banned in the house. But I had younger siblings, so some of the stuff was on sometimes. But I can tell you my first impression back when I was 8 was I liked Doug, kind of liked Rugrats. I thought this one was weird and gross, and I didn't really care for it. And I probably saw it a couple times. And when I went to watch it the other night, and I haven't watched it since, I was like, this is weird, gross, offensive, and I absolutely hate this. I cannot stand this. I'm so glad I only have to sit through 10 minutes of this crap, and I'm never going to watch Ren and Stimpy again.
Wow. Yep.
To be blunt.
I could see how some people might feel that way. And I think some of that was the intention. I think there's all right.
I don't like gross. And this show is really gross.
My 3 notes were 60s kitsch, which we can explore. There are actually other space episodes involving these 2 characters. And they had like sort of a stock opening, as you saw. So they cut to the screen where it says Space Madness, and sometimes it will say something else. And the third was gross out humor, which is something that's usually my least favorite thing as well. And that was one of like the hallmarks of the show as they go along. They do some interesting things with it, I'll say. And there's a lot of anti-comedy that comes with what they do. Anti-comedy is probably not the right term. I mean, there's certainly newer things that do that in a way that I'm getting too far off track.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm with you. I mean, I don't like gross out jokes generally. But sometimes they're funny. But yeah, I think the term you use, Keith, anti-comedy, might have been what appealed to me, and maybe still does. Some of and maybe even just non sequiturs. There's an episode where Stimpy's in the wrestling, and Stimpy's got the mask on, like the Masked Avenger or whatever, and he's like, I want to yell the stuff this time, and he's just yelling things, and he's like, I want to be your friend, whatever. You're a nice person. I think it got further and further away from that, and I think that was kind of Chris Belushi's plan, but I know he ended up getting fired just because he didn't meet deadlines. I got to the show. I thought
it was something else, actually, but we'll
well, that's why he can't be on the reboot. I just looked that up too. I was watching TV Land or Nick at Night. I had been watching that, and that's what I saw promos for this, and that's what got me to this and got me watching. So yeah, I still enjoyed it, but I definitely got away from it even then. I think that first season I could watch again, but I don't know. I am with you, Jimmy. I don't know that I obviously liked it a lot more than you then and now. But I don't know that I was like, oh, I'm going to go watch some more episodes. I think I was like, oh, I'm going to go look for that one part. And I'm going to go look for this other part that I remember from it.
I watched a lot.
Powdered Toast Man and the wrestling scene are the 2 that stick out in my mind.
I just Googled John K. and canceled to see what you guys were referencing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember the details of it, and I was going to avoid getting into it on here.
Oh, yeah.
According to this, he sexually abused minors, which that's about as wrong as you get in my book. So
there we are. I think eventually Billy West ended up taking over both parts in like one of the later season. I think I, with maybe a few exceptions, I think I watched everything that they ever aired for them. I'm sure that I must have lost some things in places here and there because this is pre-DVR. This is pre lots of other things. These first few seasons I'd seen repeatedly. Let's start with my first point about the 60s kitsch. There are certain kinds of humor that they touched on that were clearly meant for people of that era, people who grew up being able to watch like 60s sci-fi. And that's a lot of what this was reflecting. And I thought it was actually an interesting contrast to this in like TOS, because I hadn't really appreciated the idea of that maybe TOS had broken apart from this Jetsons kind of goofy, bright sort of thing. That I mean, there were still some elements of that, but they were taking it a lot more seriously than people seemed to in the past, or they seemed to think through the technology of things better than people were able to for this kind of genre. And
I forgot when I referenced it for Naked Time and Naked Now and the other Space Madness times we had, that it was more that this was actually more of we're 2 guys that have been on this ship for a long time, and that's an old time sci-fi trope. 2001. I mean, and my theory is I think Hal gets a lot of pressure from being in charge of everything on the ship and knowing the secret in the movie, but I think part of it is he's the one of all the astronauts. He's like, I can't take this anymore. The stress of knowing everything and all the time in space. I think it gets to him. So I think this harkens back to, again, those long days, Major Tom, those days lost out in space, as opposed to the space madness varieties we got on Star Trek.
There are other cartoons that sort of, and other properties that took from, I guess, drank from the sort of the same place as far as the kind of 60s humor, or that feeling that they're tapping into, the way that people used to think and talk, and just their affectations, the way they would dress. And that was a lot of the way that the characters behaved in this series in general. You have, like, Mr. Horse was one of my favorite, no, right. Sir, I don't like it. Yeah. That one, there are lots of things that Jimmy, I think, would appreciate if he could. And this is a term that I've used on many occasions. If you can eat around the other things. Yeah. And that's going to be one of the problems. And but
I don't think I'm going to be able to. I'm sorry. Yeah. Honestly, what I'm reading about now with him is a huge, like, okay, now I'm done for sure. But the gross stuff already had me tuned out. So I couldn't get past just how gross everything's drawn and looks. Even the things that aren't explicitly gross, it's just a grossly drawn cartoon. The whole tone and style is disgusting.
Well, that's what the 60s were like.
It hits me viscerally in a bad, negative way.
Like I said, I didn't like those close-ups when I watched it 30 years ago, but now I actually do like those. It's
like the point is that they're supposed to be unappealing. And
I get that. I just don't understand why you'd want to watch that.
So the other thing is, one of the things I was specifically thinking about as far as other properties that take those kinds of things, like Dexter's Lab, and even Teen Titans Go has some leftovers of something. I don't know why I find it so funny, but whenever somebody's leaving, they're like, I'm leaving for good. They put on their little hat, the walking coat and jacket, and the suitcase, and that sort of thing.
And it just dawned on me when we were talking about this earlier. I also think it's one of those shows, like, I used to watch Aqua Teen Hunger Force. I watched it with one girlfriend who was stoned all the time. I watched another girlfriend who didn't drink or do it. The one who got stoned all the time enjoyed it a lot more. And I was usually drunk. And I think that helped. Definitely. And I'm not saying you got to be drunk to watch that show or whatever, but I think it just got me out of my head, and I wasn't thinking that much about it.
Well, maybe this goes to Keith's point of a certain time in your life, because I found Aqua Teen Hunger Force in college. And while there are gross parts of it, I actually really enjoyed that show overall.
I'll watch Aqua Teen Hunger Force anytime over Ren and Stimpy.
Pretty sure I've seen every episode.
It had its time.
There are swaths I'm missing of Aqua Teen that it's all up there on the Adult Swim app, and I keep going. I'm going to go all the way through it again and just get there. Like, keep getting sidetracked by other things. But I was a big fan of that too.
So this show, when they started the Space Madness, it takes place in the year 400 billion, which
I hadn't caught that.
Like, okay, that's just such a. I don't think the universe will still be around in 400 billion years, right? Because the universe is only supposed to be a handful of billion years old.
It'll be a completely new universe.
That's tapping into the whole 60s thing again. It's like they would probably always underbid, like, this is what it's gonna be like in the year 2005, and have all all the jets and stuff. And it's like they just have to keep doing impossibly high numbers until it makes sense. All right, so go ahead.
And they were on a 36-year mission to the Crab Nebula, a trip that those two specifically had made thousands of times, which means they're at least 36,000 years old at this point.
Maybe there was stasis involved.
That's why they look so bad.
The 400 billion I kind of thought was, okay, funny, excuse it. But when they said 36-year mission that they've done thousands of times, that's where I was like, okay, no, this... I don't even.
No, Jimmy, wait for just a second.
Yeah.
I never noticed those things before, and this is hilarious. No, this is I love this, actually. Yeah. This is something that somebody should really have done, is like analyze these things. Just like, I don't know why that never occurred to me.
Well, I don't have many notes, but they are analyzing it. So
no, I love it.
So they're on a break, and they don't have to go on duty again for another 6 years, apparently.
Oh yeah,
that's why they're so bored. Off, but apparently Netflix doesn't exist.
That I did pick up on.
I did wonder why their ship in the bathroom had 4 lockers when there were only 2 of them in the crew.
There are plenty of toilets and urinals too.
Yeah, but there's only 2 of them.
Well, no, I'm just saying that's it's just.
Was the ship originally built when it was a larger crew, and then they advanced to the point where you could have a smaller staff? Like, I want to know the logistics of this universe that led to.
I think it was always just the 2 of them.
I'm probably overanalyzing, aren't I? Okay.
Yes and no. No, this is exactly the sort of thing that people wouldn't necessarily think to do.
Yeah,
it is funny. It's
So Ren gets in the bathtub and they turn the gravity off. I don't understand why the water stays in a chunk, which would send the droplets scattering in all directions, but it still stays in a chunk no matter how much he moves around. It doesn't make any sense.
It's part of the technology. They do that on purpose. They expect people to just float up and just like be right there. There's a couple of other stasis fields that hold it in place, and
only the bathtub loses gravity because Stimpy's still sitting fine at the station.
Right.
That's exactly. That's why it would stay in a square, because it's limited to that area.
And I guess this episode takes place over 6 years somehow, because by the end of it, Ren goes back on duty, but he's still insane. Like there was never any attempt to treat him or make him better before they put him back on duty, which just seems like a bad idea.
Well, he was the captain, so it was his prerogative. Nobody could override him. So
the one thing I did find funny was Stimpy had to guard the big red button. They told him not to touch it. And I'm like, yeah, of course he's going to touch that. Yeah. You can't say just guard the button and not know what it is and not allow him to touch. I don't know. That was
how much of this, how much of any of this had you seen before? I mean, this is interesting.
I don't know that I ever saw this particular episode before. I've probably seen 2 or 3 episodes of Ren and Stimpy total. And that was 30 years ago.
God, I mean, this is the one that everyone would just always quote, just like all the time. And it's just it may be something bad, maybe something good. I guess we'll never know.
I think I just ignored or tuned out when people referenced it. So those were my notes, mostly complaints about the logistics, just not understanding how this universe is supposed to work.
There's the piece of music in there, the one other, actually my note, which turns out it's wrong, I think, but I can't confirm that it's right or wrong, but I'm feeling it's kind of swirling string.
Yeah, I know the piece you're talking about, because I hadn't remembered it being there before, but obviously I'm familiar with it. You know,
I thought it was a Filmation thing, because I thought that, and maybe I've got the wrong piece of music, but I think I looked it up. It's Night on Bald Mountain, which I think is in Fantasia.
Oh yeah, well they also have it in the Natural Born Killers soundtrack.
Okay. And I can't find anything online to corroborate what I thought it was from some other Filmation shows, including Star Trek, but I don't think that's right. So
no, they make uses of obviously of other classical music throughout the series, and
yes, enjoyed that part. Fashion.
They needed better clothes.
Yeah.
You know, like the sound. All right. So what about the helmets? At first, I thought, like, are they trying to do like a condom thing? But it was more like just the various light bulb shapes, and
right.
But then it could have been, because I keep thinking, if this, I mean, there are cartoons like this, and again, I've mentioned a few of them, and it's just they skirt that line where they're obviously going for humor that kids who should theoretically be, in theory, be the target audience wouldn't be familiar with the references they're making.
Mm-hmm. Either a condom or a nipple. My alternate episode is I never had to watch this, and I was perfectly happy. You can watch the last 2 minutes with me, and she is fully in agreement with my opinion. Watch the last.
Okay, yeah. Well, I would. That would be my alternate episode. Is that she loved it.
Oh,
that Morgan is like, what are you talking about? This is the greatest thing ever. Let's watch all of it.
My annoyance of the episode, I mean, they're both really annoying, but I'm going to choose Ren as the annoyance. And drink of the episode is cyanide before I actually get to talk to them.
It makes me want to have an ice cream sandwich this episode.
Ice cream bar. Yes.
Do either of you have an alternate episode annoyance or drink you'd like to weigh in on?
Man.
My alternate episode is Ren and Stimpy Wrestling, which I'm going to watch later tonight since I found that online. My annoyance, John K. and my drink, some kind of ice cream, some kind of float.
Who with?
Oh,
I just went cyanide, so I wasn't actually having a drink with one of them.
Stimson J Cat for sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I love Stimpy. He's a cat for one, and I love Billy West too. He was on Stern for a long time.
I guess I did not get.
Billy West was on Howard Stern.
Yeah, he did a lot of voices for Stern. Yeah, he was part of his team.
He's done everything. Yeah. Billy West is such a huge.
With conversations, just like little. Here's like a graphic thing we're doing, and
he would help write some of the jokes. He would do some of the bits, and sometimes he would do a lot of different voices and stuff.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I did not realize until you said something, Steven, that Stimpy is a cat and Ren is a dog.
Yeah. Stimson J Cat.
Yeah.
Cats
Chihuahua.
and dogs living together.
Yep. Did not even. I got your Ghostbusters reference, but the cat did not. I rank this as the worst episode of Ren and Stimpy I've ever seen. And also the best.
What's your favorite episode? Okay.
This one. I saw this one has a 9.0 average rating on IMDb, which is more than any Star Trek episode we've seen. It baffles my mind why it's not like a 0.9.
There are comedic elements in there that are so classic and just iconic that you just it's hard to if you can't get past the other things, it's not gonna happen. I wish it makes me want to try to farm through the series and find either moments that you would like, or even try to find like an elusive entire episode that you could get through.
Please don't.
I think that ship has sailed, Keith.
Please don't. Because if you send it to me, I'm going to feel obligated to watch it, and I will.
Okay, I won't do that, unless I actually happen upon something that I am certain, but I won't do that. So
it makes me think, Jimmy, of when I tell people like I don't like beer, and they're like, oh, well, this one has this in it. I don't care what you put in it.
I don't like beer either.
I'm not going to drink it.
I'm right there. I'm right there. This is the single worst thing I've watched for this podcast. I can say that definitively.
I'm trying to think of
so far. We haven't watched Dude Where's My Car yet, which will be next week for Patreon only donors.
There's no way you can find that. I haven't seen that yet, and I still don't think that you would find that worse than this.
I'm expecting to enjoy that movie, but think it's dumb. That's what I'm expecting out of that.
Accurate.
I still think I'll find it enjoyable, but I don't know. We'll find out.
I was trying to think of bad things we've watched.
I mean, there were some really bad episodes of Star Trek. This is worse than Code of Honor.
That's true.
This is worse than Lights of Zatar.
Quark wasn't the greatest.
Oh, this is so much better than Quark. I would rewatch Quark 50 times before I watch this again.
Somehow I recently did rewatch an episode. I don't even know how I ended up there. I think somebody referenced it somewhere. I might even send it to you guys, and that led me to actually watch part of an episode, which ended up just being to look at the twins. So
I think I remember Quark being like, this isn't good. I don't regret taking the time to watch it once, but I'm need to watch it again. Yeah, this is far, far worse.
I didn't get that far into Quark because of whatever miscommunication. I don't remember disliking it though. I guess I'm more accustomed to that era of British comedy though. So
yeah, it was a product of its time for sure.
Yes.
Any other notes or things you want to talk about on this before we close out this episode? Because I'm not finding the discussion of this episode even half as painful as watching it. So I'm not like, oh God, this needs to end. That's how I felt when I watched it. That's not how I feel right now.
I thought I was going to find more on the internet to inspire me to talk about it, but I think you guys have come with a lot of stuff as it is. So.
Well, I never said my annoyance, which Steven gave me a good answer for that. No. The John K thing is that's just, again, he was kind of beating the rush on cancel culture or the fad of it. And it's.
But he still has plenty of credits 20 years after that happened.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through like 2009, he's still got quite a few credits.
Yeah.
But it didn't break until like what? Like when did it break? Like
the last couple of years.
Yeah, so
a couple years ago, maybe.
Surely somebody noticed.
Well, that's the thing. I'm sure they do, but it's just like there was permitted to whatever. I guess the point I'm getting to is that people, I think more people should be annoyed by the people who did the bad things and who the product that should have been changed, rather than blaming liberals or whatever whatever they think is the real problem.
I don't see any connection between Ren and Stimpy and those things. Like, I can separate the art from the artist.
Yeah.
But yeah, this guy, like, that's more than annoying. What he did, he deserves to be locked up in jail for a long, long time. If the article that I saw was true. I don't have firsthand knowledge, but it seemed like I scrolled through quite a bit of it. It seemed like there's a lot of evidence there, including firsthand accounts from the two women involved, who are women now.
Yes.
Weren't at the time. Anyway,
I would have a drink with the announcer.
Okay.
To talk technique and so forth, and should I use more butt and that sort of thing.
I guess. Wait, who did I say I'd have a drink with?
Did you? No, Stimson. You said Stimpy.
Simpson J. Cat, yeah. Or Billy West. I guess same thing, but in a way.
I'd have a drink with Billy West. I like Billy West for so many other things.
Yeah.
I love Futurama. I'm enjoying Disenchanted. Netflix.
He's great.
I should try to get into that at some point. I think I watched the first 1 or 2 episodes, and
it took me a little time to get into it, but I like it. Anyway, so next week, Dude, Where's My Car? I've never seen it. Steven's seen it. He referenced it a bunch.
Seen it many.
How do you know it's your car then? No, I've never seen it.
Okay.
I've seen that one scene a few times because that's just.
I haven't seen any scenes. So we're going in pretty new. This one's Steven's pick. Ren Stimpy was Keith's pick. And then.
Was it?
After we do Dude, Where's My Car? For Patreon only donors, donate $2 at patreon.com/IBD. Then we are going to have another bonus episode. We're going to watch the VHS of the Star Trek 25th anniversary special that aired like just after the premiere of season 5. I really enjoyed that, but I haven't seen it in like 15 years, so I'm looking forward to watching it again. Until then, live long.
I got so hungry, I ate it and prospered.
It's All Been Done presents
Who's Got the Time?